My skin got a story in it. Old rose in my bones. They call me by a number, but I know my name at home. Chain on my neck, but the line still lives. The way I walk, the way I get. Less to the promise, that's where I fit. I've been chosen, I can feel it. Tell me who I am when the mirror won't lie. Tell me where I came from. It's written in my eyes. I was set apart long before the hurt. The son of the promise. On this earth, house of Israel, that's who I am. House of Israel, blood in the plan. Not by the label, not by the cage, ancient heritage, calling my name. House of Israel, I know the truth. House of Israel, living in you. They try to bury kings in the headlines. Tried to paint my crown in shame, but the whole world still find me. When I speak and I pray, from the fields to the blocks, still rising. Through the fog, still a sign. Every wound got a witness, every scar got a sign. I'm not lost in the crowd. I'm not here by mistake. There's a covenant on my breath, bro, that the world can't break. Tell me who I am when the mirror won't lie. Tell me where I came from. It's written in my eyes. I was set apart long before the hurt. The son of the promise on this earth. House of Israel, that's who I am. House of Israel, blood in the plan. Not by the label, not by the cage, ancient heritage, calling my name. I'm House of Israel. I know the truth. House of Israel. And if they strip the names away, I still stand on what was spoken. If the world don't see the line stays unbroken. From father to son, through the night, we remember. I was made for more than sight. I was made for the sinner. House of Israel, that's who I am. House of Israel, blood and the plan. Not by the label, not by the cage, ancient heritage, calling my name. House of Israel, I know the truth. House of Israel.
I said we got next. Never fold, never bend. We endure until the end. He made us a promise with a friend. He's the beginning and end. We his chosen and his friends. No surrender or retreat. Speaking the word. My brothers on every corner of the streets. My sisters keep us in love and peace. Cutting down idols, cast them away at my feet. Here's the shield for the weak, the strength for the meek, the shepherd to his sleep. I said we got next, we got next. I get my flesh in check, get the lost bind them around my neck. Romans 9:1, we got Deuteronomy 6:7, next. Revelations 21:12, we got Romans 9:13, next.
Next.
Shalom, shalom, shalom.
Shalom.
Khan. All praise, honor, and glory to you. How about Shema Mashiach Yahushai? You know, double honors to the elders, still waking up the lost sheep of Israel in these last days. You know what I mean? Kwam Yasha'Allah, rise Israel. We got next. Okay, this is what this class called. We got next. I'm your host,
Right.
yeah, and my swordsman for today,
Kabar Ash.
Ash. You know what I'm saying? All praises the Water King.
Khan.
And so this class, right, we're going to start with the Lord's Prayer, but I just want to give a brief insight into the class. Is we're going to go through a plantation. You know what I'm saying? We're going to go through a plantation in South Carolina, and I got the film, and we're going to talk about it. You know what I'm saying? How Esau was living, how we were living, and we're going to show the receipts, the pictures, and all that. Okay. And then we're going to, get into, some current events, right, that have been taking place. Earthquakes, what they call tsunamis,
Heat waves,
floods, biblical floods. So it's a lot to unpack, but we're going to talk about it. You know what I mean? So let's first begin with the Lord's Prayer in Paleo Hebrew. Abanawa, Shemayim, Kodash, Haya, Shemka, Yahweh, Malachwaka, Thaba'ah, Ratazaka, Haya, Aisha, Baratazah, Kawa, Haya, Bashamayim, Natananawa, Lacham, Kau, Yawam, Wasalaf Nawa, Kabawaf Nawa, Kasalaf Nawa, Kabawaf Nawa, Wala'a, Thabianawa, Banasai 1, Abal, Hawashai Nawa, Mayan, Rai, Kaya, Laka, Hamalakwaf, Wa'ala, Watapalarov, Labalamyam, Aman. Khan. Okay, so said it at the beginning of the class, but I'm just going to reiterate, fair use act. And, hopefully everybody had a decent couple weeks, you know what I'm saying? Here in Babylon, making the best of a bad situation, but then seeing the results, that the Most High is the judgments that the Most High is putting on the earth. Okay, because we are one step closer to that day. All right, let's go. Let's bring out Isaiah chapter 2 and verse 2.
Khan, you hear me, King?
Khan,
yeah. Khan. It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 2, verse 2. And it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the mountains and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow unto it.
Khan, so, so we're going to be the top tribe. We're going to be the top nation, top group of people. You know what I'm saying? The Lord's chosen people. You know what I mean? Everybody's not going to be on an equal playing field, just like in this kingdom, everybody isn't on an equal playing field. It wouldn't make sense. Okay? Wouldn't be just. You know what I'm saying? The things that they've done is going to happen to them. Things they've done to us, Salakia, is going to happen to them twofold, right? And we're going to be looked at as, the leaders in our, in our rightful place. You know what I'm saying? The world was made for the Israelites, so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans. Read on.
Verse 3, and many people shall go and say, come ye, and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of Yahweh of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem.
Okay, so that's what it's all about. You know what I mean? We got next. Our kingdom is an everlasting kingdom. Our kingdom is not going to be looking like this, you know, trash bag, dirty kingdom. You know what I'm saying? It's garbage and barrels of, you know what I'm saying, toxic waste in the ocean and spray chemicals in the air and all that stuff. Ours ain't gonna be like that. You know what I mean? We're gonna have respect to, you know, with nature. We one with nature and all that good stuff. You know what I mean? Not just destroying the home that we live on, like the devil Esau continues to do. All right.
That's right.
So, without further ado, I'm be putting on this video. I'm gonna be pausing it to, you know, bring out some scriptures and everything like that. Check this out. You know what I mean? This is Nathaniel Russell's house, right? Nathaniel Russell was a slave owner, but they call him a merchant. You know what I mean? They call him a planter. You know what I'm saying? Rather than the diabolical beast that he is. His house cost $80,000 in 1808. You know, that's not from hard work. You know, it's from brutality and violence and, you know, abuse and things of that nature, right? That's what got him his dough. And this is, you know, a violent, brute beast, okay? But I want to show you how he was living and how we were living, and check out, you know, you can compare and contrast, of course, right? But also, you know, think about what our kingdom's going to look like. You know what I'm saying? This is how they were living. We think our kingdom's going to look like. But we're going to play that. Hopefully you'll be able to hear everything, you know. This is me filming down South Carolina. Let me back up.
It's finally completed in the spring of 1808. And that's when Nathaniel, his wife Sarah, their teenage daughters Alicia and Sarah, and approximately 18 enslaved people moved in to this beautiful federal style townhouse. Now this house is patterned after Robert Adams style architecture. You would have visited homes like this in London. And as we walk through, you're going to see balance and symmetry, you're going to see the neoclassical influence, and Robert Adams liked to incorporate geometric shapes into his architecture. This house was a wonderful example. The 3 rooms on the front are rectangular in shape. 3 in the center are oval, the back has square rooms. And then we have a beautiful elliptical staircase to tie it all together. This is the public part of the house where business is conducted. You have business with Russells. You do not go any further in this room. You conducted your business and you left.
Okay, let's get Psalm chapter 37 and verse 12. So this is where they conducted business. You know what I'm saying? Getting to this spot, it's close by the water, right? And this guy was quote unquote a merchant, and this what gave him a lot of finances and economic power was South Carolina was the southernmost slave port. You know what I'm saying? I believe like connected to the ocean more so than, you know, going into like the Gulf of America, that area down Louisiana and everything like that. So coming from the ocean, this is where our ancestors were let off. This guy lived about maybe 20 minutes away, a walking distance from that, from the ocean. So he conducted, quote unquote, a lot of business in this front room right here. But what was his business? You know what I'm saying? He wasn't selling computers. He was selling people. He was selling our ancestors. He was selling children. He was breaking breaking apart families and stuff for financial gain, and really, I mean, had all the money. You know what I mean? After a while, it becomes a sick fetish that these people had. You know what I mean? Let's bring that out, King.
It's the book of Psalms, chapter 37, verse 12. The wicked plotteth against the just, and gnasheth upon him with his teeth.
So he's just plotting. And when they show the doors, it's like it's a nice door, real wide door, but you can see through it, you know what I'm saying, or the glass, right? So he has the doors closed while he's doing that. Let's get Psalm 64 verse 2, but let me see if she can show the door and how, as he's selling our ancestors, 18 lived there. 18, that's a lot, man. If you had somebody that would shine your shoes, cut your hair, 10 people working outside, 10 people working inside. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't have to do anything. You know what I mean? He didn't have to brush his own teeth or do anything. He had our ancestors doing that for him. And she's gonna talk about the butler and which would be considered the house nigga, you know what I mean? That got all like the main privileges, and they sent to get refined. Because all they did, pretty much, she's going to talk about, all they did was just eat. You know what I mean? They sat there from the time they woke up to the time they eat. They had this dinner and that supper and this breakfast and all this other stuff. Like, they're not doing anything. You know what I'm saying? So while they're in there conducting the business, I'm sure he was aware that he didn't want our ancestors hearing that there's, that he's selling their daughter, selling their son. You know what I mean? Let me see if we can see that door.
Those beautiful glazed glass doors were closed. The purpose of those doors is to separate the public space from the private home.
Yeah, so, and you can see, make sure nobody's listening, on the other side of the doors. Let's bring that out, King.
It's the book of Psalms, chapter 64, verse 2. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity.
So David's asking the Most High to deliver him from his enemies. You know what I mean? Hide him from the secret counsel. And that's what they do. It's secret counsel. The same thing they were doing back then, they're doing now. Now they're they sell brothers and sisters that are locked up. I'll take you to this. We're gonna send 100 bodies up to this state prison, to this federal prison. We'll bring 100 down. You know what I mean? We need to get more tax dollars in this area location. It's a secret council, and ICE detention centers are doing that as well. Read on verse 3.
Verse 3: who whet their tongue like a sword, and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words.
Even bitter words. Read on.
That they may shoot in secret at the perfect. Suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not.
So, these councils that they're having in there is, designed to destroy our family structure, break our will. You know what I mean? It might be, Chassadyah back there is not listening. You know what I'm saying? He sucked his teeth when I told him to carry that 500 pounds of rice over to across the city. You know what I mean? We gotta get him out of here. He's acting up. Let's sell him down the river. You know what I mean? And he's wake up one day and somebody's there to put handcuffs on you or whatever, and sell you to a place you never been, and you gotta leave your family. You know what I'm saying? That's what they do. Read on.
They encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privily. They say, who shall see them?
Who gonna see me? Close the door. Close the door. Nobody's gonna see me doing this wicked evil deed. I'm doing it with. I'm gonna make more money, hand over fist type of money, right? But Most High saw the Lord, the angels recorded it. So now the get back is going to be tremendous. You know what I mean? We'll get to that afterwards. Let's continue on.
So only friends, family, and invited guests are escorted beyond those doors by the enslaved butler. Those are the original doors, and they have their original glass. You'll notice that some of the panes look a little bit like they are frosted. Those are undergoing a natural process called christening, and that means there was a chemical imbalance in that particular batch of glass. So they have broken down over time to look the way that you see them today. Now, when we go beyond those doors in just a moment, you want to stand in the very center of the stair hall. Look straight up to the third floor stair hall ceiling. You will see a medallion. Focus on that medallion. That will give you your best view of that staircase. The window has been cut out underneath. You can see the construction. It was built using mostly wooden pegs. But on your way in, you may want to take a quick peek in Mr. Ross's office. We have one Windsor chair in there. That is one of two pieces of furniture in the house that we know the Russells owned when they lived here. That Philadelphia made Windsor chair was analyzed to see what the reproductions you're sitting in should look like. So we think that chair lived its life in this room. All of the other furniture that you see throughout the house today, the artwork, the china, the silver, the maps, they're not original to this house, but they are period pieces. They tried to keep everything within the late 1700s, early 1800 time frame. And I also want to mention the painted floorcloth to you. They like to use these in these public spaces. They were easier to clean than carpets. They painted canvas or sailcloth. Well, in the kitchen house, which we will go into at the end of the tour, we have found thousands of artifacts.
Those are Masonic tiles.
One of them was a fragment of painted floorcloth. When it was analyzed, it was Russell time period. They believe it was used in this room, damaged, moved to the kitchen. So after they analyzed that little tiny fragment, did additional research, they came up with this design to replicate what they think the Russells used in this room. This inner Greek keyboarder was on that fragment. So that's what the design and the colors have been based on. Any questions so far? Problematic. All right, these are the free flying floating stairs, and this is the architectural feature for which this house is best known. Now, when Mr. and Mrs. Russell lived here, there was no apparent means of support. That staircase was not attached to the wall. It just floated past. And it's able to do that because it is a self-supporting staircase. The weight of the step above is supported by the step below. So these stairs are built in sections from landing to landing. The stairs are made of pine. The handrail is capped with bias cut pieces of Honduran mahogany. Now the medallion you saw as you looked up looks a little bit like plaster from down here. It's actually painted. That's what the French refer to as trompe-l'oeil. It tricks your eye. Look above my head at the top of the stairwell. You see the trompe-l'oeil crown molding. We have that on all three floors. There's a different design on each floor, and they found enough of the original to reproduce it. The gold is the original color of the stair hall. Our paint expert, Susan Buck, who works out of Williamsburg, removed about 22 layers of paint to determine this is the color the Russells used. Now, she also removed paint from the doors, and they discovered these are South Carolina pine doors. They have been painted to look like Grange mahogany. So all of the interior doors, original to the house, restored to that 1808 faux mahogany finish. Mr. Russell is not saving money. Mr. Russell is being fashionable.
So he has hand over fist money. This money that just keeps coming in from having 18 of our ancestors work from sun up to sundown to make him paid. You know what I mean? Let's get Ecclesiasticus chapter 14 and verse 9. So money isn't an issue. You know what I mean? Some houses today that don't cost $80,000, or with the housing market, the houses are getting more and more expensive. But you can imagine, it's $1 million house pretty much back in that day. You know what I'm saying? And everything is just top of the line, And this is really what she's talking about. She's they say slavery's over, and it was a long time ago and everything, and we say that our ancestors inherited the trauma and the oppression and the Willie Lynch syndromes and everything else that came with slavery, and they say, oh well, that was a long time ago. We didn't make money off of slavery. I mean, a lot of people can't say that, but Esau's proud. He'll say things like that. But keep in mind that this tour is still making money. It's still making money off of slavery. You know what I mean? Each ticket cost like $90. You know what I mean? It wasn't cheap. So they're making money still to this day off this plantation. Okay, but let's bring that out, King.
It's the book of Sirach, chapter 14, verse 9. A covetous man's eye is not satisfied with his portion, and the iniquity of the wicked drieth up his soul.
Like he's never going to have enough. There's let me get that. It was that mahogany. Let me get that from France. You know what I'm saying? Let me get a staircase that is not attached to the wall. I need that design. Who do you think built that staircase? Who do you think did everything in this house? You know what I mean? And they said they didn't have architects back then. Of course they didn't. The architects were us. We knew how to do carpentry and what I'm saying, woodwork and all that. That was us. Okay. Let's get Deuteronomy 28 and verse 43. We sinned against our God, right? Went the way of the heathens, and tested the fruit of the other nations, and the Most High, he put us under these curses, from our iniquity, our sin. Go ahead, Ken, you bring it out.
It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 43. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low.
So we're servants to these diabolical beasts, man. She talks about this, they did nothing all day. That's what slavery was. That's why they want to bring it back so bad. We gotta make America great again, so we don't have to work. We don't have to do anything. They wake up, they eat. A couple hours go by, they eat some more, and they entertain guests. That's it. You know what I'm saying? And they bring their friends over and like, look at this nigga can speak. I taught him to speak French. I taught this nigga to know the difference between white wine and red wine and all this other stuff. You know what I mean? They got us used like entertainment, just like today. You know what I mean? We're entertainment for them. But let's keep going. You know what I mean? I just wanted to put it out there that everything that he made in this house, or everything that is made in this house, he didn't do anything, is top of the line back then and even to this day.
He's emulating what is popular in Europe. Mahogany doors would have been less expensive than bringing in artisans to do the faux engraving. These are works of art. Now, as you stand here and look at this oval room, see doors on each side? Those doors are there only because you have a curved wall, meaning a straight wall. So it leaves open, awkward space. The Russells put doors there and gave them some storage space. Closets are not part of architectural style because hangers have not been invented. Okay. But remember balance and symmetry. Skinny door, wide door. It's not balanced, is it? No. It's an error. Why it was made on this first floor, we do not know, but they corrected it on the second floor. So look at the doors when you walk across the stair hall on the second floor. But balance and symmetry-wise, the strange-looking door behind the staircase is actually perfect. It's centered under that beautiful glaring window. It's across from the dining room door. Those doors led to the carriage lane and were only used by enslaved and tradespeople to bring goods into the house. The Russells themselves would not have used those doors. But that door surround is evidence that that staircase was not attached to the wall. Yes?
Why is there a light under the staircase?
To shine on this beautiful piece of furniture we have over here.
Oh,
There we go. There. And we have one under there just to see, there's one shining there. Now, what do you see when you look under that staircase?
a trap door.
There you do, and see that light helps to show that up. That is the original trap door, and it leads to a cellar. We think they stored wine and ice in the cellar. It's convenient to the dining room. But this house is on one of the highest points of land on the peninsula, enabling Mr. Russell to have a cellar. Meeting Street out here does not flood when so many of our other streets do. Any other questions?
Are these mortgage coins?
Are they what?
Mortgage coins?
No. No, there would have been no need to know. He would not have had a mortgage. He's wealthy enough, he's paid for it. All right, please join me in the dining room. All right, the main meal served in the dining room was dinner. Dinner's a three-course meal served between 2 and 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, if the Russells had invited guests, that meal might last 3 or 4 hours. And that entire meal is orchestrated by the butler. He's the most valued, the best trained, the most trusted of all of the enslaved. The butler was a wine sommelier. He is the one who selected the wine for each course of the meal. Mrs. Russell would have set the menu. The food was prepared by a trained enslaved cook. There was a school in Charleston to train the cooks. That menu included European cuisine, African foods, herbs and spices, and even some Native American foods.
Okay, so let's get Deuteronomy 28 and verse 48. So European cuisines, like what? But you know, they had you know, our ancestors, you know, were amazing cooks. You know what I'm saying? 3 and 4 hours cooking, eating dinner. You know what I mean? Like nowhere to go, nothing to do. It's like that movie End Time with Justin Timberlake. That's one of my favorite movies actually, because it says so much about you know, it's like they're telling you what it is. You know what I mean? This money buys you time. You know what I'm saying? You're not eating your half-hour lunch and had to go back to the plantation, and your supervisor's like, "Oh, you're 2 minutes late." You know what I mean? It's the 3rd time this week. You know what I mean? This guy has nothing to do. He's eating 3 and 4 hours for dinner at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. All right, let's bring that out, King.
I wanted to touch on something, know what you said.
Absolutely, go ahead.
And you was talking about Deuteronomy 28 and 43, right? The stranger getting up high. So that's Ecclesiastes chapter 10, verse 7. It says, I have seen servants upon horses and princes walking as servants upon the earth. You see, that's them getting up high, and that's us being low. We supposed to be in that position. But you said we disobeyed the Most High, and He put us in as servants. And we not supposed to be. And that's why we low, and that's why they in the strangers within thee, and they up high on us.
Excellent precept.
Right. So yeah. So you know, we gotta get those roles back reversed. And how we do that? By following the law, statutes, and commandments, and coming back to them.
Absolutely. Excellent precept.
So you want 48?
48.
John, it's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 48. Therefore, that shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee.
Khan. So we were talking about this. This was a cruise I went on, right? So as I'm with the people I went with, they were like, and I was thinking the same thing. All that water. I'm like, damn, this is where our ancestors made that journey, that voyage from the west coast of Africa to the Americas. And it's not, it's a long journey. It's nothing but water. You know what I'm saying? You got storms and boats rocking and all that. People getting sick, and you know what I mean. To come to a land that if not, that's what the scriptures talk about. So we didn't know anybody here. You know what I'm saying? We didn't know the language. We didn't know anything other than, this is a bad John. You know what I mean? So here we are having to serve our enemies for, the one of all things, just why our high blood pressure and the trauma that went down the line, like in the blood. It's, you pass it down to your children, you know what I mean, through the DNA, the things that we went through in slavery. You know what I mean? That's how bad it was. So, we had to serve them with anything. So we're hungry, you know what I mean? We didn't eat today. We got to watch them eat for 3 to 4 hours. You know what I'm saying? We got to serve them. We got to give them this. Oh, this wine is 17, 18 chateau, and all that money that they got for all these things, all that silverware came off our backs and our labor. Okay, let's get Lamentations chapter 5 and verse 5. Very humbling experience. You know what I mean? Once you know, you know what I'm saying? Once you have read books about what really happened during slavery. You know what I'm saying? She left all out, the buck breaking and the statutory rape and everything that we know went on a daily basis. She conveniently left those things out. You know what I mean? Taking having a woman, one of our women having a baby and immediately taking the baby away and selling them to another plantation. You know what I'm saying? Taking our children away from us. Okay.
Done.
She missed all that stuff. But you can bring it out.
It's the book of Lamentations. Lamentations chapter 5, verse 5. Our necks are under persecution. We labor and have no rest.
And it's not like, oh, I'm tired today. I'm going to take a sick day, boss. You know what I'm saying? Where's Nathaniel? I'm not feeling good. My stomach's moving around. Or I twisted my ankle yesterday. You know what I mean? Let me get on workman's comp. Ain't none of that. You twist your ankle, they might put a bullet in you. Or just beat you until you start working again. You know what I'm saying? It was that brutal, on a daily basis, your entire life, from the time you're born until the time you die, you're enslaved. You know what I mean? Because this is 1808. So slavery then, quote unquote, officially get to Juneteenth until 60 years later almost. So our ancestors were, this is life. This is entire life. Okay. Let's continue on.
Well, the butler had added one more footman to serve the Russes and their guests. Now, in the early 1800s, they displayed their family portraits in the dining room. Behind you here is a portrait of Nathaniel Russell. This is painted by Edward Savage. Mr. Russell is 49, and that was a year before he married. He did not marry until he was 50. He did not move into this house until he was 70. He lived here until his death at the age of 82. His wife, Sarah Humpton, is 36 when they married. She's a very wealthy woman. She has inherited money and property from her father, also a merchant. Before they married, Sarah asked Nathaniel's son Mary. He agreed. She continued to control her money, and she continued to manage her property throughout his marriage. Over the sideboard is a portrait of the older daughter, Alicia, when she was about 6. She was 19 when they moved into this house. She married a year later at the age of 20. She married extremely well. She would marry Arthur Middleton, namesake and nephew of Arthur Middleton and Middleton Plantation, and one of the sons of the Declaration of Independence. Her younger sister, Sarah, 4 years later, married this gentleman, the Right Reverend Theodore Jehoon. Now, he was rector of St. Michael's Church down here on the corner of Meeting and Broad. He's the second bishop of the Episcopal Diocese of South Carolina, but only lives 4 years after he was set.
That nigga's name is Demon. She said Demon.
Uh-huh.
Yes, Reverend Theodore Demon. That how you spell demon? That's a demon right there. You know what I'm saying? And talking about he knows the scriptures. Let's go to Psalms 50 and 16. My name is Theodore Demon. Nah, you got the right last name. I never met nobody that had the last name Demon. And if it would be somebody, it would be Esau. You know what I mean? Who else would carry that title? Go ahead, King, you can bring it out.
What you want, 60?
No, Psalm 50 and 16.
All right, come. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 50, verse 16. But unto the wicked Yahweh saith, what hast thou to do to declare my statutes, or that thou shouldest take my covenant in thy mouth?
Yeah, he worked down the street as a reverend in St. Michael's. You know what I'm saying? You know, what do you have to do? Why you got the Bible in your hand? You got slaves. You know what I'm saying? They go. That's how the the hypocrisy of Esau is you know, it's unmatched. Walk into a building every day to, you know, read the Bible and stuff. You come home, there's slaves. You have a people that you beat and abuse on a daily basis. You know what I'm saying? And you know, and after church, of course, that's when they had the picnics, right? What we gonna do today? You know, I don't know. Let's go lynch somebody. You know what I mean? How many lynchings did they have down in Charleston, South Carolina in those days? You know, I'm sure that was a part of daily life, you know, murder and rape. Can you read verse 17?
Verse 17. Seeing thou hatest instruction and casteth my words behind thee.
You're not paying attention to none of that. Treat your brother as you want to be treated. You know what I'm saying? You know, love the Lord thy God with all our heart, all that mind, all that soul, and you know, love your brother as you love yourself. They ain't listening to none of that. They throw that right behind them. All right, let's continue on.
Marriage. He dies from yellow fever. So Sarah returned to the Russell house, a young widow with 3 children under the age of 4. She lived in this house, shared it with family until her death. She never remarried. Restoration of the dining room, they did find a piece of the original wallpaper hidden under a Bell system that was added at a later time. When it was analyzed, this bare blue is the original color. The narrow wallpaper border you see in here and the window are very typical of the time period. Any questions about anything in the dining room? The octagonal piece, that is a wine cellarette. It's lined with lead. You put ice in there. All right, the back parlor is a very plain and very simple room, and the Russells would have actually spent a great deal of time in this room, but they did not entertain guests here, so they're not trying to impress anyone. Mrs. Russell ran the household in this room. She would have given the butler, the housekeeper, and cook instructions for the day. She probably wrote out her menus here, kept her books here. Breakfast might have been served in here about 8 or 9 in the morning if they didn't take it from their bedchamber. Their supper, about 8 or 9 at night, was served here. Supper is a simple meal. It consists of leftovers from that larger meal earlier in the day. But both of those meals were probably served on blue Canton Chinese export porcelain like you see on the table. That was the Russell's everyday dinnerware. Mr. Russell's ships went all over the world, and he had one ship named the Russell that made a round-trip voyage from Charleston to China. When he returned, it had barrels of this on board. We have found the ship manifest. We have found numerous shards of that in archaeological digs here on the property. Now, the foundation had to restore the square configuration of this room by putting in a false wall. When the Russells lived here, the house would have ended there with windows. Those windows looked out over a work service area. Livestock pens, vegetable garden, herb garden, even a small fruit orchard. So that's probably another reason for not entertaining here. Also in 1808, the main house and the kitchen house were not connected. So all of the food cooked in the kitchen had to be brought across an open space into the main house, and it was brought into that small room behind us, which is called the butler's pantry. That's where they would have made their final preparations on the food before it was served. Now, in just a moment, I'm going to ask you to follow me through the butler's pantry. We will go up some stairs built in the 1950s by Historic Charleston Foundation. But the Russells had a back staircase. It was narrow, it was tightly wound, it had no handrail. It went all the way from the first floor of the butler's pantry to the attic. That is the staircase the enslaved used as they went about their daily chores. Only the butler would have used that grand staircase to escort the guest to the second floor. Any questions before we go upstairs? All right, follow me up to the second floor. Oh, yeah, that's why.
Who played the harp? You saw? Who played the harp? Good job. Shaboo. Shaboo.
Cool. David playing the harp for Saul.
Your eyes will be drawn up to the second floor. The windows are taller. There are arches over those windows. You have the balconies with the original ironwork. So it's almost like the architectural style of the house tells you my most important rooms are on the second floor. And they were. This is the entertainment. Now the Russells are following the British tradition, but it's practical. Nothing away from the dirt, the smell, the noise of street blood. You could get about a breeze on the second floor, so it was somewhat cooler as well. Now we are in the withdrawing room, a multifunctional room, and the Russells used it for what they considered their less formal, entertaining, more intimate family-friendly occasions. Carpeting was on the floor, imported, wallpaper. It's the only room in the house we have not been able to determine the original color of the walls. Look up. You see this beautifully restored neoclassical cornice. When they removed paint from that cornice and discovered 22-karat gold gilding, they were surprised. Thought maybe it had been added after the Russells lived here. But they found a letter written by the oldest grandson, Nathaniel Russell Middleton. And in that letter, he talked about coming back to visit in the house after it was sold in the refurbishing of the gold gilding. He remembered as a child. So that placed it in the Russell time frame. Tea ceremony in Charleston, just as in England, very important social occasion. Mrs. Russell entertained guests for formal tea in this room. And they might have sat at the table similar to the one we have. One of the enslaved brought an urn filled with hot water from the kitchen house up the back staircase to to this room, teas prepared, Mrs. Russell's guest served. Now, a group of ladies who probably had tea in this room with Mrs. Russell was the Ladies Benevolent Society. And that was a charitable organization started by Mrs. Russell and her sister to help the poor and the sick in Charleston. Both daughters were active in that group, and that group does still exist today. Now, downstairs, I told you she had a marriage contract. She took her forward thinking into the Ladies Benevolent Society as well. They wrote into their bylaws their treasurer had to be a single lady. They did not want the husbands to have any control or say over their funds. Those funds were kept in this rectangular box. That is their original charity box. Behind you is a second portrait of Mr. Russell, painted by John Wesley Jarvis. We think Mr. Russell is in his 70s. That is the case. He was living in this house when that portrait was painted. Now, he was benevolent as well. He started the New England Society to help widows and orphans of men who were lost at sea. That group still exists today, and the executive boards of both groups meet annually in the Russell House to carry on their tradition. Now, I told you there were two pieces of furniture in the house that the Russells owned. The second piece is the chair sitting on the table here. It's sitting on the table because we're in the process of restoring it. We acquired it about 4 or 5 years ago from some descendants of the Russells. And it had been in the family for 2 centuries. When we acquired it, it was black. Well, they sent it to Williamsburg for analysis and discovered that was not the original color. So they are restoring it now to the way it would have looked in 1800. Now, I told you the cornice had 22 karat gold gilding. The gold gilding you see on that chair is 24 karat gold gilding. The conservators said the Russells probably had a set of 6 of those chairs.
You muted. You muted.
Slacky, y'all. I was saying that think about how, you know, centuries of being passed down from generation to generation, 2 centuries of gold chairs. You know what I'm saying? 6 gold chairs, like they sit on gold, same thing like Donald Trump. So when they talk about, oh, slavery was a long time ago and pull yourself up by your bootstraps, you inherit gold chairs. You know what I'm saying? We inherit debt and trauma. Let's bring that out. Job chapter 12 and verse 6. And obviously the Russells, they're like, yeah, go ahead, you can take it. You know what I'm saying? You can put it in great granddaddy's old house. You know what I'm saying? We're wealthy enough where we don't need it. They said the foundation he's part of that helps children of the merchants that die in sea, you know what I mean, that crash their boats or whatever like that. And they meet still in the Russell house. So what really has changed? You know what I'm saying? They meet in the slave master's house to have this conversation where, of course, we were never thought about, to give any type of benefit to our children, that had anything go wrong while on the ship. It's not for us, right? So that's how they keep the money flowing through their community. Go ahead, can you bring it out?
The book of Job, chapter 12, verse 6. The tabernacles of robbers prosper, and they that provoke Yahweh are secure, into whose hand Yahweh bringeth abundantly.
Time. And, it was part of what the Lord said would happen. You know what I'm saying? If we don't do what we're supposed to do, then he's going to give, the kingdom pretty much rulership to the Edomites, to these people, he says, to a foolish nation. Let's get Slakia, Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 21. You know what I mean? So you know, they're fine. They're fine. So when people say, "Oh man, Gentile salvation, man, they need salvation from what?" You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
how
Yeah.
blind are you? You know, what they gotta they cut their finger counting the money? Like, what do they need help for it? You know what I'm saying? They still got it. They're still paid. You know what I mean? Just walking to this house, I see the people that live in the area. So it's like they're downtown, like Philly would have Old City. You know what I mean? That's like their location. It's all Edomites. You know what I mean? I seen Jake down there. Jake is just sitting in the shade, like, man, you know what I'm saying? That look on his face. You know, what's going on, brother? What's going on? You know what I mean? You could tell real recognize real. And then you see a couple Jakes that are just like uppity and like, I'm not paying you no mind. I seen him walking with Esau and everything like that. That would be the butler. That would be the house nigga that can only, he's the one that can walk up the spiral staircase. All you other niggas got to use the other staircase. You know what I'm saying? So nothing really has changed is what my point is. You know, so these other Israelite camps that want to bring Esau in, Esau's fine. You know what I'm saying? He sits on gold chairs. He's all right. You know what I'm saying? He's not even trying to make it into the kingdom. He's like, why would I leave this to go wherever y'all at? Like, I'm good where I'm at. But it's our people that are just constantly trying to bring Esau in. What about the white man? You notice they never talk about East Indians. They never talk about Moab. They never talk about any other nation. They talk about their slave master, and that's a slave mentality. All right. Go ahead. Can you bring that out, Deuteronomy?
Chapter 32, verse 21. They have moved me to jealousy with that which is not Yahweh. They have provoked me to anger with their vanities, and I will move them to jealousy with those which are not a people. I will provoke them to anger with a foolish nation.
So the tabernacles of robbers prosper. Let's continue on.
Any questions about the withdrawal? All right, so we'll go through those doors. I'll be going in where the butler or one of the footmen served them tea. They socialized, waited for their companions to rejoin them. And there's probably musical entertainment sometime during the evening. In those days, every young lady is expected to play a musical instrument. Mrs. Russell played the harp. The older daughter, Alicia, was very talented on the pianoforte. We have some of her music, very difficult to play. Some of the enslaved were classically trained musicians, so music was an important part of their social events. Now, because the drawing room is for the most formal entertainment, this room is lavishly and expensively decorated. They said when the Russells moved in 1808, finest drawing room in Charleston, if not on the entire East Coast. Carpeting on the floor. This is a reproduction of a Brussels wool carpet in a floral and swag design taken from the early 1800s. The wallpaper is the original color. Window surrounds have been painted their original color. Look at the prints down near the windows and the fireplace. Those are blocks of wood, though painted to look like the semi-precious stone blue eyes. Look up. You see the original plaster cornice. That is a Gothic design taken from the London pattern book. And when I first started working here, it was painted solid gray. It was beautiful. Restoration has made it magnificent. It brings out all of the detail. And this is the only room in the house that had a chandelier. Chandeliers are expensive decorative items. They only use them in their most important rooms. And candles were expensive and used sparingly. Mirror panels behind you are designed to reflect the candle light in the natural light. If you look at about the third row down on these mirror panels, you'll see that chandelier reflected 3 times. So they're designed to make it appear you're burning 3 times the number of candles that are actually in use. And if you stand in the right place, you can see 3 as well. Yes. The harp is about early 1800s, made in France. Pianoforte, I think, is also early 1800s, maybe. All right. You won't understand why it was the finest drawing room in Charleston.
Curved doors.
Any questions?
Curved mirrors.
All right. Take temporary the Russells, sister of Edward Rutledge, the youngest signer of the Declaration of Independence. Her brother John signed the U.S. Constitution, and that is an original George Romney painting. It was commissioned while she was in England. So take.
You mute. We can't hear you. You mute.
All right, I'm gonna stop muting it. My bad, y'all. I ain't wanted a whole lot of noise in the background. What I was saying was that fake beef, you know what I mean? The North and the South and everything. Of course, yeah, Civil War. I want my slaves. Like, well, y'all making too much money with slaves, and you know what I mean? We ain't having that. You know, y'all getting too powerful. But they intermingled. They intermarried. This woman was married to the signer of the Declaration of Independence over there in Philadelphia. You know what I mean? He was getting stuff from Philadelphia. You know, the chairs and all this other stuff. You're gonna see he has like a little potty in his room and all that. So when it comes down to it, they're like, yo, you got money, I got money. Let's have our daughters marry. You know what I'm saying? Or my daughter marry your son. I mean, nobody cares about all that extra stuff. You know what I mean? When the South was getting too much money, North like, yo, hold on now. You know what I mean? Y'all getting way too much money, way too powerful, and we ain't getting none. So now we're gonna go to war. But they all friends, man. All right, let's continue. I'm gonna stop muting it. If it's a lot of noise in my background, please let me know. But I'm gonna stop doing that because I forget that I'm muted.
A closer look and enjoy me.
What's her name again?
Mary Rutledge Smith.
Mary Rutledge Smith.
We are in the best bed chamber, the most decorative bed chamber in the house. Guests would have had access to this room. Bed chambers were not as private as our bedrooms are today. This was Mr. and Mrs. Russell's. 3 additional bed chambers were on the 3rd floor for family and guests. Window treatments, bed hangings you see in here are patterned after a photograph that was found of Mr. and Mrs. Russell's great-granddaughter's bedroom in her home in Bristol, Rhode Island. When they found the photograph, they thought maybe she was using what had been in her great-grandparents' home in Charleston because she was the great-grandchild who inherited most of their possessions. But there was a second reason. These are made from Dimity cotton. Dimity cotton was the first mass-produced textile in the United States following the American Revolution. You're using this in your home, you're being patriotic, you're not importing textiles from Europe. That coincided with the time frame Sarah and Nathaniel Russell lived in Charleston. The walls in this room are painted their original color, and they are painted with the same type of paint that the Russells used. This is a distemper paint made from chalk, water, and animal hide glue. They ground 2 shades of French ochre pigment for the color, applied it to the walls using the same techniques used in the early 1800s. They used a horsehair brush, 1 coat of paint, all the strokes go in the same direction, none of them overlap. And we were wondering why only 1 coat of paint. What we've discovered is the striations in this paint reflect light, especially candlelight. Stair Hall probably looked like this in 1808. Today it's painted with latex paint, like we use. So you have your chemically produced pigment versus your natural pigment. The narrow wallpaper border in here is a reproduction of the wallpaper border used in this room. We know it was used in this room. We took the help of a little preservationist. We found a rat's nest in the window pocket on the other side of there. And in the rat's nest was a piece of wallpaper about the size of my thumbnail. But that was large enough for Susan Bott to determine this Russell time period, the color and the Greek key design. But how do we know the wallpaper came from this room? Rats do not take things more than 75 or 100 feet from their nest. Why was it still there hundreds of years later? Rat urine is a preservative. So we have found pieces of paper and cloth in rat's nest that normally would have deteriorated. So thanks to the little rodent, improvement in paint analysis technology, discovered a photograph. We can show you what we think this bed chamber looked like when Sarah and Nathaniel Russell lived here. Any questions about the bed chamber? All right, we are going to walk.
Excuse me.
Yes,
Question. Right there, is that?
Indoor plumbing.
that's
That's
your
the
indoor
toilet?
plumbing, yes.
Okay.
Okay, when we walked up these stairs, we walked through the dressing room that was adjacent to the bed chamber. And the door was on this side of the fireplace. Now, that's a place for bathing, for storage, and chamber pots. But if you're wealthy enough, you might own a necessary chair. Now, this necessary chair was made in Philadelphia between 1800 and 1810. And they were great in your bed chamber. If your chamber pot was close by, you put the cushion down, you had a comfortable, easy chair. And they were always upholstered with slip covers for easy warmth.
Okay. I wonder who had to clean that up.
Now, as I was saying, we're going to go into this hyphen. And then in 1808, this was a window. So these two windows overlook that word service area. The hyphen where the ticket office is on the first floor was added in the 1820s. What we're walking through was added in the 1840s when Sarah Russell DeHone was living here. So if you'll walk through, glance as you go, and we're going to go down some stairs on the other side of the elevator, and I want to take you into the kitchen house.
Negro land, check that out, right? So she kind of breezed over this. She was like, all right, just meet me downstairs. You can check it out. And da-da-da. Like, oh. Slow your roll, right? So there you go with Negro land, you know, where our ancestors came from, in west coast of Africa. So I tried to like pause it a little bit. Now down here, this is where our ancestors were. It was very oppressive, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like everything else was like air conditioned and, you know what I mean, kind of comfortable. Got upstairs, you know, walking up the steps and everything like that. It was a little humid up there. Not really though. And here it felt like the world, like everything was closing in on you. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sure it was the temperature, one thing, but the fact that this is where our ancestors were, and you could feel that level of oppression. You know what I'm saying? Everybody felt it. I know I did. And my family did.
They love to show this stuff off.
Con.
They love showing this. This is what they do. They showing it off. This is what they doing.
Yeah. It
their history.
Con. It was a guy that had the backwards hat or whatever, his hat backwards. Every time we only black people there, right? So you know when they're there, they're like, yeah, this is it, man. Trump's gonna bring us back to this. You know what I mean? They probably excited, but they were, you know, since we were there, they were like, oh, this is the black eye of the South, and oh, it's terrible, blah blah blah. Main man, every time she says something like that, main man just dipped off. Like, let me take a picture over here. He was taking pictures of nothing. He was like, I want to hear that. You know what I mean? Like, who was with? It was like, this is the best thing that ever happened to us. You know, this is how life should be. You know, so you know that whole thing, like, oh my God, it's so bad. Oh, I wish I could take it back. I wish I could vote for Obama 3 times. They don't feel like they don't. That's all cap. We should know that. You know what I mean? They don't believe none of that. You know, this is the highlight of their life. You know,
right?
Ancestors, they have conversations about when they grabbed this random nigga and lynched him and chopped off his member, you know what I'm saying? Castrated him, and they got it in a jar that they show every Thanksgiving or whatever, man. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, they love it, you know. And
Yeah, this is what they mean when they say "Make America Great Again." They want to go back to this.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. It's really crazy. And when she talked about the rat problem that they had, you know, we diabolical.
That's crazy.
All right, the kitchen house is the area of focus or the foundation right now. Excuse me. They started working in here in 2017, removing building materials that had been added over time. Discovered 85% of the original building materials had been preserved. You're looking at a lot of that right now. But if we were to go back to 1808, it was not one large room. It was divided into kitchen and laundry room. Walls separated those two rooms. There were no windows on that exterior wall. The enslaved were not encouraged to look outside the property, only into the property. Those windows overlooked that work service area. Now, when they entered the building by way of the door here, they actually entered a narrow hallway. And in that hallway was a staircase that led to the second floor. 2 large rooms, 1 small room. We think 12 of the approximately 18 enslaved people on the property lived on the second floor of this building. There was also a 2-story brick carriage house attached to the back of the kitchen house. That had quarters for the enslaved on the second floor of it as well. But the 1886 earthquake damaged the carriage house. It had to be torn down. We have some brick walls left of it today. Now, architecturally in 1808, this is probably one of the finest kitchen houses in all of Charleston. We have found evidence of faux grain doors, chair railing, and bright colored paint in the enslaved quarters. But to live and work in this building was not pleasant at all. Stuffy in here right now. Mm-hmm. Imagine fires going 24/7, 365 days a year in these 2 fireplaces. No cross ventilation, and they're dealing with heat, odor, and smoke. Or remember the rat's nest in this house? They used pest control in the main house, not in the kitchen house. They said the building was infested. They probably crawled across their feet as they cooked, crawled across them as they slept at night. I cannot imagine it. However, as you know, those rats are good preservationists. Of those thousands of artifacts found in this building and underneath it, many of them were in the rat's nest.
Let's get Isaiah 47 and verse 6. It's like, yeah, it was infested, but that's a good thing because everything, you know, we were able to preserve. You know, it's not that bad that it was infested with rats. And how diabolical is Esau? Because that's where his food is. You know what I'm saying? So as he's making food, as our ancestors are making food for him, he could easily say, all right, let me get these rats out of here because I don't want rats around my food. He's like, nah, I don't like you people so much that I'd rather have you live amongst a whole bunch of rats and cook my food at the same time. It's not like he couldn't afford it. You know what I'm saying? Like she said, he's very wealthy. It was that hatred, that perpetual hatred that he has. All right, Ken, you can bring it out. Isaiah 47 and 6.
Con, 1 second.
Con.
Isaiah 47 and 6. It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 47, verse 6. I was wroth with my people. I have polluted mine inheritance and given them into thine hand. Thou didst show them no mercy. Upon the ancient hast thou very heavily laid thy yoke.
God, no mercy. You know what I mean? Living in squalor, you know what I mean? But having to cook all day, every day, having to keep the fires going all day, every day, having to make sure his clothes are good. You know what I'm saying? He didn't press anything. He didn't make sure he was good for nothing, but just working all day, every day, and having to go out in that South Carolina heat and pick his rice. Let's get Lamentations chapter 5 and verse 8. And look, you see how she said it was real slick. You seen it? She's like, yeah, it was infestation. It was horrible. But on the bright side, the rat's urine preserved all this stuff for us. And now I can have a job and every week still make money off this plantation. So it wasn't that bad. Diabolical, man. From 1880, blind, crippled, and crazy, man. These people are demonic, Like the boy
Right.
name. His name is Demon. So it is what it is. That's his name. All right, can you bring it out?
Come, it's the book of Lamentations, chapter 5, verse 8. Servants have ruled over us. There is none that deliver us out of their hand.
Khan, you know what I'm saying? These are the servants. Esau is supposed to serve Jacob, because of our iniquity, the Most High, has us serving him. And he as the scriptures talk about in Isaiah, he shows us no mercy whatsoever.
Right.
We're expendable, especially when slavery was over. Now it's like we might as well just kill y'all. You know what I mean? That's when Jim Crow and lynching really exploded. Lynching really exploded because if we can't use you to work for us, we'd rather not live anywhere near you. So that's when it was really picking Jake up and trying to kill him. You know what I mean? Let's continue on with this.
We also sent mummified rats to a lab at the University of Pennsylvania. We wanted to know what they were eating, because whatever they were eating was being cooked in this kitchen. We found evidence of grains of rice, peanut shells, 2 types of grape seeds, but the most interesting thing found was the seed of a bitterroot melon. Anyone know what the bitterroot melon is? I didn't. It's a plant native to Africa. It was taken to Asia. It was domesticated. Made its way back to Africa. Those seeds made their way across the Atlantic. It's being grown in South Carolina. It's being cooked in this kitchen. So we're getting valuable information from the rats. We have done 3 archaeological digs in the cellar underneath this kitchen house. Originally, the cellar ran the entire length of the building and was about 5 or 6 feet deep. But over time, it begins to fill in with dirt. They begin to have water intrusion. They need to level it out. So what do they decide to do? Use their trash to level it out. Anything they're throwing away. Broken china, pottery, things fall through the floorboards. Trash is now our treasure. We have a few treasures found in the last archaeological dig in this case, and there are 2 of them that I really want to point out to you. You're welcome to walk up closer so you can see. One is this graphite pencil at the back. That was found on the laundry room side. The archaeologists said they found about 15 of those along a wall. The enslaved laundress is probably using that graphite pencil to keep track of the laundry she's doing on a slate on laundry day. Carnelian bead was found under the kitchen. Carnelian is a stone native to India, traded in West Africa. The archaeologists said that bead was cut in Africa. That means it made its way across the Atlantic on a slave ship. It's being worn by an enslaved person working in this kitchen. Maybe it was part of a necklace or belt. It falls off, it falls through the floorboards. Cannot imagine how devastated the person was to lose that treasure. The archaeologist said 6 carnelian beads have been found in the Charleston area. This is the only one that can be traced back to Africa. He almost cried when he found it. He was so excited about it. But we're going to continue to study and analyze all of these thousands of artifacts that we've found. We're learning more about the Russells, but we're learning more about the enslaved people as well. Our goal is to tell the story of the enslaved in the same manner we tell the story of the Russell family. The Russells lived the lifestyle they were living in that main house because of the work done in this building by the enslaved and elsewhere on the property. And the Russells lived on this property almost 50 years. It's after the death of Sarah Russell DeHone in 1857 The house is sold to Governor Robert Alston and his family. The Alstons are living here during the Civil War. They have to evacuate as the Union Army bombards the city. After the war, Governor Alston has died. His wife and daughters need to earn a living. They have been rice planters. Without slavery, that's no longer possible. So this house was repaired. Mrs. Alston and one of her daughters opened it as a boarding school for young ladies. 1870, they needed to sell the Alston estate for tax purposes. The house is sold at auction to the Sisters of Charity of Our Lady of Mercy. The nuns will use this house as a mother house and a girls' day school for 38 years. They sold it to the Mullally family in 1908. It became a private residence again. Mullally's made a number of architectural changes, sold it to the Pelzers, who sold it to Historic Charleston Foundation in 1955. And about a year later, they opened it as a house museum in their first headquarters. Okay. Thank you all so much for getting off your ship and coming to see us today.
Thank you.
My pleasure. I've certainly enjoyed showing you the house, and hope you have smooth sailing getting home.
Question.
Yes.
You said 12 of the Hebrew slaves lived in here?
The enslaved lived on the second floor.
Okay, where'd the other 6 live?
On the second floor of the carriage house.
Okay.
Yeah, more than likely, we're pretty sure the butler, the housekeeper, the cook, the laundress, those in the higher echelon of the enslaved definitely would have lived in this house. Probably the butler may have had that little room that might have been his. Okay. And then your carriage driver, the ones who took care of the livestock, the gardens and all probably lived. And it would probably all the women would have been in this building and men.
And that's during the earthquake? It
The 1886 earthquake damage, it had to be torn down. But the wall that you see looking through there, right there,
Yeah.
that was part of that carriage house.
See?
Anything else? Well, thank you. I don't know where to thank you very much. I'm going to go out the store and I will let them know that you are out.
Look at the, that's where our ancestors were.
So stay tuned.
Hold on. It's real stuffy back here, y'all. They said we used to make bricks too. All these bricks. The ancestors made.
I think the Hebrew slaves used to play Jenga.
Used to play Jenga with the way they're stacked up.
Yeah.
Right, the originator of it. Look at that. Dang. So this was about $80,000 back in 1808.
Okay. So there that is. You know what I'm saying? Very stuffy, very oppressive back there, man. You know what I'm saying? You could feel the pain, if you will. You know what I mean? It was hot, but you feel something else, you know what I mean? Spiritually, you could feel that there was a lot of trauma that went on right there in that area. So yeah, with that, right? You go, you see that, you experience it. Now what? You know, you go to the Heavenly Father. You know what I mean? Cry out to our Lord. You know what I mean? Like they have to pay for this. You know what I'm saying? The fact that, you know, Rockefeller and them lives to be 95 and getting all types of Negro hearts and everything like that. Like, you got to put it out there to the Most High to avenge our ancestors of the wrong that was done back then. You know what I'm saying? And even further back when our ancestors were leaving out of the wilderness, you know what I mean? They wouldn't let us pass, wanted to start wars with us. And what's going on now? They have a lot to pay for. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I did. You know what I mean? I was happy to see all that because, you know, to experience it, and I was going to film it. I knew I was going to edit it and come, you know, do a class on it and everything like that. So, you know, we could really see, put things in the visual perspective rather than just, you know, reading it from a book or whatever like that. Seeing it is something is unique. You know what I mean? Unique learning experience, right? So later that night, you know, praying to the Most High, meditating, right? And I was laying in bed, and I said, Most High, if it's something that you want me to see in the sky, give me a sign. So what happened was I started hearing ringing in my ear. So I'm on the ship now, and we're moving. So I get dressed, go out there, and it's a thunderstorm, you know what I mean, or lightning. Couldn't really hear any thunder. It's just lightning all over the place. So what I want you to see is it's a flashing light that's going by, right? And then about, I think, like the 30-second mark, you're going to see what looks like a fireball come out the sky and turn up a little bit, right? I sent it out to this YouTuber, right, named MB333. He analyzes videos like this and changes the contrast and the lighting and zooms in and does all that. I talked to him today. He said he's still doing it because it's harder for him to see what's going on, and to change the dynamic of it because it's pitch black dark. You know what I mean? But he's still working on it. I'm gonna show you the original video, and we're gonna go from there. So what you're gonna see now is a flashing light. I'm following the flashing light. As soon as I came out, that's what I saw. So I started following it with the camera, and at the 30-second mark, you're gonna see something just fly out super fast. You know what I'm saying? I started by showing my shot, you already know. But let's check it out. Where's the flashing light right there? Thunderstorms. Yeah. Let's get Ezekiel chapter 1 and 13. I'll rewind it back, but they're going crazy. Yeah, Ezekiel 1 and 13. We got it. Bring it out.
This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 1, verse 13. As for the likeness of the living creatures, their appearance was like burning coals of fire, and like the appearance of lamps. It went up and down among the living creatures, and the fire was bright, and out of the fire went forth lightning.
So when I talked to the guy that analyzes these videos, I'm like, one thing I know, right, is that I heard a ringing in my ear, and I went out to the balcony, right, and I started filming. So I don't think that's a plane, but we could argue back and forth. It's a plane, da da da. I sent him the analytics or whatever, where we're at the time, and they have a flighttracker.com where it shows you whether it's a plane or not. You know what I mean? If it's a plane going, flying past the Atlantic, which I didn't see any planes, right, when I was out there. But if it was, it would be, have his court, was it I forget, black box or whatever, you know what I mean, correspondence on, so people know that it's a plane flying there. So he got back with me. He's like, I don't think it's a plane. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna show it one more time. Well, not one more time. I'll show it a few times. What that is, and then of course,
Three power.
Chassadyah. All right, can you read the next verse, verse 14?
Verse 14, and the living creatures ran and returned as the appearance of a flash of lightning.
Okay, let's go to Ezekiel chapter 3, verse 10. So this is the night after, this is the night of seeing all that stuff. You know what I mean? It's like a message. Go ahead, you bring it out.
It's the book of Ezekiel chapter 3, verse 10. Moreover, he said unto me, Son of man, all my words that I shall speak unto thee, receive in thine heart and hear with thine ears.
So the message we get from Yahweh Shem Yahushai, you know, we supposed to receive it in our hearts and hear in our ears, right? Go ahead.
And go, get thee to them of the captivity unto the children of thy people, and speak unto them, and tell them, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, whether they will hear or whether they will forbear.
So it's not, it's the important part isn't whether people, oh man, please believe me. You know what I mean? That's not the important part. It's to get the message out, right? So the message is go to your heavenly Father, go to the Most High God, and let him know what's going on, you know, how it makes you feel. You know, you just seen something, your ancestors in the plantation, rat infested, having to work from sun up to sundown. That should be a time tonight when you're about to go to sleep that you take some deep breaths, you know what I mean? Clear your mind and talk to your heavenly Father. You know what I mean? Sometimes it says, was that Romans 8, I believe, about the spirit makes intercession. You know what I'm saying? Let your spirit talk to the heavenly Father. You might not know what to say, you know, but either way, make things happen. Make things happen in this spiritual war. Okay. Unfortunately, you know, some of our people, they like to mock. They like to wait for, I heard him say this. I heard this person say that, and I'm gonna make a 10-part video about it. You know what I mean? I don't see how that's going to make it into the kingdom of heaven. You know, I don't see how hating your brother or your sister is going to make it into the kingdom of heaven. I really don't. You know, you have a real enemy, and you know, let's get on board and put some work in with him. Not physical work, put that spiritual work in. And that physical work comes in from following the law, statutes, commandments, and doing what the Most High says to do, not violence. Most High said, vengeance is mine. He'll take care of it. And we're going to talk about that in the next video, how the Most High takes care of things. So what this was, he's going to analyze it. It went up. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not meteors don't do that. Meteors don't just turn up, you know, but let's see the response. This. I mean, you might say, you know, I don't believe it. I don't believe that's the response. But that's, you know, that's not for me to go back and forth with you about. But I know the Most High heard what I was saying, and this happened the next day.
3 powerful earthquakes have just struck within a half hour of each other in 2 different parts of the world. The first struck in Venezuela about 2 hours ago. 7.1 quake hit in the northwest part of the country near the Caribbean coast. It was quickly followed by a 7.5 quake. Video shows the moment the quake struck. You can see people trying to hold on to breakable items as the room shakes. And here's some look at the damage left behind.
Let's go to
3 powerful earthquakes.
Let's go to 2 Samuel 22:7, right? So another thing that happened before I went on the trip, I was sitting down and kind of went to like a meditative state, not on my own, you know, recognizance, I don't know the word, but just went to like a meditative state and heard Japan deserves a huge earthquake. So I just tweeted it out or put it on Facebook. Japan deserves a huge earthquake. And what happened the day after that Wednesday, it was the Venezuelan earthquakes, but Japan had a huge earthquake. Japan said it was 7.2. The USDA or whatever they call it, they said it's 6.9. Either way, it was a huge earthquake. So we are coming into our own as Israelites. as people that can get in contact with the Heavenly Father and receive messages, and prayers can pierce the clouds. Now, if you don't believe that, I don't know what book you're reading. This is the time period. You know what I'm saying? The power is there. The Most High is there. He's listening. You know, the more we put into this, the more we get out of it. But we got to put something in. You know what I mean? Just don't be sitting on the couch twiddling your thumbs talking about, that's not true. That's not true either. You know what I'm saying? You're not putting in no work. If you're not meditating an hour every day, you're not reading scriptures every day, if you're not going to camp, if you're not going to the feast days, if you're not doing what the Most High requires of you, how do you expect to get anything out of this? You know? Other than just a lot of, lip service. Let's bring that out, King.
It's the book of 2 Samuel, chapter 22, verse 7. In my distress, I called upon the Lord and cried to my God. And he did hear my voice out of his temple, and my cry did enter into his ears.
Because when you following these laws, statutes, commandments to the best of your ability and putting in that work, God gonna hear you. That's not just with some people. It seems with, you know what I mean? This is what the scripture says. This is what we have as a heritage. We just gotta, you know what I mean? We gotta get our heritage, right? We gotta take our heritage back. Go ahead, next verse.
We gotta tap in.
Tap in. There we go.
Right, we do. Verse 8. Then the earth shook and trembled. The foundations of heaven moved and shook because he was wroth.
All right, let's watch the rest of the video.
It's just struck within a half hour of each other in two different parts of the world. The first struck in Venezuela about 2 hours ago. 7.1 quake hit in the northwest part of the country near the Caribbean coast. It was quickly followed by a 7.5 quake. Video shows the moment the quake struck. You can see people trying to hold on to breakable items as the room shakes. And here's some look at the damage left behind. We're still waiting to learn if anyone was hurt. This quake has also triggered a tsunami advisory in Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. Then about a half hour later, another quake hits, this one in Japan. This a 6.9 striking along the country's northern coast. It hit during the morning rush hour there. So far, no reports of injuries or damage, and no tsunami warnings have been issued for this quake.
All right, we want to bring in our chief meteorologist, Jeff Ranieri, to talk about this. He's been tracking this. I know these, even here, we picked it up on our seismograph.
Three major earthquakes rattled a trio of nations globally on Thursday. The first quake hit the north coast of California with a 5.6 magnitude tremor just after 8 a.m. on Wednesday local time. It was followed by the largest of the three quakes, a 7.5 magnitude tremor which hit the north coast of Venezuela just after 6 p.m. on Wednesday local time. About half an hour later, Japan was hit with a 6.9 magnitude quake about 7:30 a.m. on Thursday local time. The damage has been significant across all three of the nations hit.
This is the moment a 5.6 magnitude earthquake rocked rural Northern California, causing injuries and sending groceries and bottles off shelves, smashing onto the floor.
I started hearing like glass clicking together, and I'm like, what is that?
Renee Everode heard the earthquake alert on her phone inside the store just before the shaking started.
I was like shaking from head to toe. My hands were shaking. I was watching wine bottles drop and just break and the wine go everywhere. It felt like it lasted for 20 minutes.
The quake was captured on home security cameras like this one, miles from the epicenter near the town of Willits.
Is everyone okay?
Rattled residents then surveying the damage, power knocked out for thousands.
I've never been in an earthquake this big, and I've been in a lot of earthquakes. This was bad.
The shaking lasted a full 30 seconds and was felt as far away as San Jose, 180 miles to the south. And the epicenter is not along a major fault line.
This is somewhat inland from it, but it's still part of the San Andreas system. In that region, this is the strongest earthquake that they've seen in at least the last 100 years.
A 7.5 magnitude quake striking just 39 seconds after a 7.2 magnitude foreshock. causing countless buildings to collapse.
It's not the shaking that kills people, it's buildings that kill people. And it's really the collapse of those buildings that can lead to the catastrophic loss of life.
Because it was a public holiday, many citizens were off work and at home when the country's most powerful earthquake in more than a century hit. And as emergency crews now try to sort through the rubble to rescue those still trapped, the U.S. Geological Survey estimates thousands of people could be killed by the quakes because of how and where they hit.
In this case, it was a very shallow earthquake. It occurred close to people. So, it's very worrying, and we expect it to be very damaging. And I think it's going to take days to weeks to really understand the extent of this damage.
I leaned out onto the balcony screaming, "We're trapped, we need help."
In the aftermath, it was chaos. Venezuela's main airport covered in rubble, and thousands in Caracas flooded the streets, the U.S. now vowing to help.
They have a much of collapsed buildings, and so they'll need a lot of help in terms of digging through that. The airport there is badly damaged, so we'll have to rely on the Department of War to deploy assets there. And then we're also helping them with some overhead imagery, especially in coastal areas where they don't have full visibility over what the damage has been and what the impact has been.
We're still waiting to hear if it was two separate quakes or if the USGS just needs to recertify this and get that number range anywhere between a 7.2 to 7.5. Nonetheless, a powerful earthquake happening here in South America, just to the west of Caracas. We did have a tsunami advisory here for Puerto Rico. That has since been canceled. But a lot of the video we are seeing come in from this earthquake, in some cases, buildings being pancaked, likely going to be some deaths, and certainly a lot more damage video coming in from this one. Now, less than a half hour later, the earthquakes continue here. We had a 6.9 in Japan. I want to reiterate, no West Coast tsunami warning. We're still waiting to learn more information on this earthquake. Then additionally today, again, we have been so extremely busy on the earthquake front. We had a 5.6 here north of the Bay Area. So as we get you in closer, this is a very well-known fault zone happening on the Mayakama fault zone here, just to the south and also to the east of Willits. Very shallow at 6 miles below the Earth's surface at 8:10 this morning. And you can see multiple aftershocks in this region ranging anywhere from a 1.0 to a 4.6 magnitude, at least 25 of those. This fault zone is capable of producing a very large earthquake. And of course, we will continue to pay attention to this tonight and of course in the coming days. Strongest right up there, of course, of the epicenter with that strong shaking, but only weak shaking felt here throughout the Bay Area, across parts of the North Bay, even down a little bit there towards San Francisco. So let's put this on a scale. The 5.0 range for that quake here in the Bay Area considered moderate, about 1,500 per year. We look at that Japan quake, that is considered strong, about 120 per year. And then the South America quake ranging in the 7 category, only about 18 per year.
Within 40 seconds of each other, two of the most devastating earthquakes in Venezuela's history sent shockwaves and panic through the capital city of Caracas Wednesday afternoon.
And all of a sudden, the floor started trembling at 6:04, and everybody started running, hitting each other, trying to be the first to get out of the cafe. And, we ran to a square nearby, and like 100, 200 people concentrated there. And we were watching parts of buildings falling off. And 2 blocks from where I was, 2 buildings went down.
Carlos Manuel Diaz documented the cracks throughout his building.
As you can see,
and showed us outside where many of his neighbors are now leaving their vehicles, ready to leave as dozens of aftershocks continue to hit the region.
32 smaller ones, like an hour ago, there was one that was strong, but not as bad as the one yesterday.
Wow. Venezuela's interim president declared a state of emergency as search and rescue teams from Los Angeles and Virginia had to help pull people out of the rubble.
This is what they train for. It's very specific. They work with
dogs. They work with structural engineers.
We spoke to one of the founding members of the FEMA Urban Surge and Rescue Task Force that deploys trained firefighters to disaster zones. They know every minute is crucial to find people alive.
24 hours, most disasters, specifically earthquake, have about an 80% chance of survival. And then if you get into the second day, it drops down to about 36%.
In the Bay Area, Elaine Agrizone is hoping her family members are found alive.
No responde, ni su esposo tampoco.
We've been trying to reach her since yesterday. She doesn't answer. Her husband doesn't answer either. We're hoping that the reason why they haven't reached out is because they don't have signal. USGS estimates the death toll in Venezuela will likely go over 1,000 people and potentially could exceed 10,000. U.S. search and rescue teams are set to land in Venezuela in the coming hours.
So in Venezuela, the latest that I got, 2 twin major earthquakes, 611 aftershocks, over 2,000 people unalive, 50,000 missing, 12,721 displaced, and 774 buildings collapsed. And now there's biblical flooding. That's how you know it's the Most High. You know what I'm saying? I know people are like, yo, it's got to be HARP and everything like that. But when you get major events that happen and then you get flooding where they can't help the victims, like biblical flooding, then you're dealing with Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. There's also biblical floodings in Ghana, I believe the Philippines. There's the heat wave. We'll talk about that, though. We'll talk about the heat wave.
What they said it's the HARP?
No. You know, like people, Esau on everything. You know what I mean? Like when the Lord does something, they're like, nah, man, it was the HARP.
They try to find something else.
Yeah.
But the Most High made them create the HARP.
Con.
So is that at the end of the day, it's the Most High anyway.
Yeah, regardless. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, and there was a major earthquake, 6.0 in Baja, California, which is borderline of Mexico. So it's really in Mexico, but borderline near California. Afghanistan had a 6.0. Japan 6.0, something like that, 6 point something. Just everywhere you look on the map, you look at how many earthquakes have taken place in the past week, it's astronomical. So you got people in the comment section there like, yo, Jesus is coming back. You know what I mean? Like even the damn atheists are like, oh my God, what is happening? You know what I mean? Like some people like, they don't believe in God, they say, what's the universe is trying to tell us something, man. But either way, you should know if you're an Israelite that things like this just don't happen. You know what I mean? Earthquakes, fires on the West Coast. It's about, I don't know how many fires going on right now on the West Coast, burning up. It was 8 inches of hail in Idaho. I think it was Idaho or Iowa. Might have been Iowa. I'm not sure. One of them white states, you know what I'm saying? 8 inches of hail. In North Dakota, it's snowing. I believe it was North Dakota. Yeah, so it's crazy. You know what I mean? All this stuff is crazy. But what else happens during these times? The spirit jumps on people. You know what I'm saying? And the Most High is putting the spirit out there of vengeance upon these Edomites. And we're going to talk about it. Let's get Isaiah 47 and verse 9. Because Esau, you see how proud they are, man. They talking about, the rats. They had a lot of rats, but at least they urinated on everything to save this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, mind state is like, it doesn't have the morality or, the empathy needed to take anything to another level, man. Like, they got to be taken out of power. Just the way they think alone is detrimental and diabolical. But they put this stuff into practice. They don't just talk about race. They're openly trying to start one. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You're from the trillionaire on down. My mother-in-law went on excursion to a different excursion in South Carolina where she saw the building where Dylan Roof shot and killed 9 people that were in our people, 9 so-called black grandmothers and grandfathers that were in church. Wanted to start a wage war. And then to add insult to injury, the police gave him Burger King before he went to jail. And then told everybody I gave him Burger King before he went to jail. Like, just so you know, if you do something like this, we're going to look out for you. You know what I'm saying? And don't forget, South Carolina also is where Child shot the young brother in the back that he said stole the water. You know what I mean? So all this energy, this evil enterprise that they putting out towards God's chosen people is coming back to them in the form of devastating, apocalyptic type flooding and earthquakes and all that, and it's gonna continue to happen. You know, they said South Carolina had a 7-point something earthquake back in 1886 or something like to that, or 1886, somewhere around there. And that was 20 years after slavery was over. So just in case you forgot, Most High, you know what I mean, got some smoke for you. And Most High willing, a large earthquake happens in South Carolina soon, okay? Again. All right, so let's bring that out, though. Isaiah 47:9.
Isaiah 47, verse 9. But these 2 things shall come to thee in a moment, in one day: the loss of children and widowhood. They shall come upon thee in their perfection for the multitude of thy sorceries and for the great abundance of thine enchantments.
So let's see what happened in upstate New York. He saw one day, everybody's gone. You know what I mean? Lord's not playing.
We're continuing to stay on top of what's happened in Mechanicville with the death investigation. News Channel 13's Dan Levy has been following this since it first happened. He joined us earlier in this newscast, but he's going to join us again because he's just spoken with the father of the 4 children who were found dead inside that Harris Avenue apartment in Mechanicville. Police say the children were 13-year-old Harper Harmon, 11-year-old Hudson Harmon, and 10-year-old twins Gavin and Gracelyn. Dan joins us now with what their father is saying this afternoon. Dan, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Mark. I was able to get in touch with Brady Harmon at his home in Salt Lake City just a little while ago. He told me local Salt Lake City police came to his home 2 nights ago to give him the horrible news and to say that he's devastated and heartbroken. That would be a major understatement. He told me that he's been trying to get custody or at least visitation with his 4 kids for 6 years. The last time he saw them in person was in November 2019, and he says he's gone through every legal channel he could, and he told me he was near the finish line because he was getting ready to fly to the East Coast next week to pick up his kids on July 1st and fly them back to Utah so that he could spend the summer with them. But then all of this broke loose, and here's more of what he had to tell me.
Yeah, I wish there was something else I could have done legally, but I went through everything I could, every thing that my lawyers could do, everything, you know. I just never thought that someone would go and do this. You talk about the feeling of how do you prepare for this, you get down to almost the finish line just to have someone cut your legs out from underneath you, and the only thing left to do is crawl across the finish line to bring the remains home.
Yeah. You'll hear more from Brady Harmon coming up at 5 o'clock. Interesting, his belief, his position, that this was some sort of a conspiracy concocted by his former mother-in-law and his ex-wife to make sure he never saw his kids again. You'll hear what he had to say at 5.
Yep, Most High put the spirit on him. Now, what really happened was the grandmother poisoned everybody. You know what I'm saying? And we know how vindictive women can be as far as not, allowing the father to see the children. And it's not going to be any fault of the father other than their relationship, didn't work out, or you know, he found somebody new, and she's like, well, you'll never be around, you know, this woman will never be around my children, just that and the third. But with Esau, you might want to look deeper into it. We know what a pervert Esau is. It might have been a real reason why she didn't want, you know, the children to be around this father. You know what I'm saying? We don't know because pretty much everybody's gone. You know what I mean? But I'm gonna go and say Esau, you know, was a meth head, and he was in part of a biker gang. You know what I'm saying? You got to watch those guys. You know what I'm saying? He's on the
right.
West. You know what I mean? You gotta read between the lines, man. You know, probably dealt with guns and drugs and prostitution, things of that nature. You know, so either way, everybody got wiped out just like that. Now, I want to bring the fact home to remain that in America right now, fireballs are flying all over the place in the sky. They're not meteors, okay? And we talked about this at length before, so I'm not going to go into it, but I believe they're chariots. You know what I'm saying? And just like the scriptures talked about, we read in Ezekiel 1:13, that's the description that it is. You know what I'm saying? So now that they're on the earth, what are they doing? Massive amounts of destruction. Okay, let's talk about that as well. Matter of fact, let's go to Isaiah chapter 49 and verse 17. Because the people that are coming to save us are on their way. You know what I'm saying? They're you see them in the sky all the time. You know what I mean? If you look it up, it's a guy called the Angry Astronauts. He's been talking about this at length. You can watch him on YouTube, and he has the videos and, you know, the timestamp and everything to back it up. And when you start looking at these locations where they're supposedly being found and landed and stuff, destruction's coming there. You know, if it hasn't happened already. All right, can you bring it out?
It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 49, verse 17. Thy children shall make haste, thy destroyers and they that made thee waste shall go forth of thee.
So those that you know, who rebuild you are coming soon, right? And those who destroyed you will leave. I'm good with that. You know what I'm saying? Help is on the way, and these dudes is going on the way out. All praise to the Most High Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. All right. Now let's talk about Esau, who is superior, right? And superior white supremacist system set up all over this country, all over the world, not just this country, but when it comes to the law, to education, entertainment, politics, you name it, anything that you can put in, housing, anything that you associate with on a daily basis in America or in other places is built on a system of white supremacy, right? Now, come to find out, they're not too supreme because they're literally getting cooked alive. Let's get Luke chapter 12 and verse 49. Literally getting cooked alive. It's hot outside. I know. You know what I mean? I was out there sweating. Esau's dying. He's not making it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you go home, like, oh, put some water on my face. Esau passing out and cooking on the sidewalk. Bring that out, King.
It's the book of Luke, chapter 12, verse 9. But he that denieth me before men shall be denied before the angels of God.
No, okay, well, it's 12 and 49, but keep reading that. That's a good one.
And whosoever shall speak a word against the Son of Man, it shall be forgiven him. But unto him that blasphemeth against the Holy Spirit, it shall not be forgiven.
Okay. All praises.
Verse 49. I am come to send fire on the earth, and what will I if it be already kindled?
Yeah, let's get that. All right, let's watch the next video. This joint, it's a fire.
Extreme heat is spreading across Europe for the second time in 2 months.
So the Eiffel Tower got struck by lightning, and 1,000 people died in France. Just putting that out there before we start. Let's go.
Schools have closed, trains have shut down. It is so hot in France that drinking alcohol was banned in certain parts of the country to try and protect people's health.
Across Europe, another 191 million people were facing temperatures of more than 35 degrees on Sunday, as the heat wave spread east towards countries including the Czech Republic, Hungary and Poland. In Germany, which recorded a record high 41.3 degrees the day earlier, roads were literally cracking under the heat. And in Berlin, police took to cooling off residents with water cannons, in a show of how cities across the continent are attempting to adapt to the heat wave, which has been declared by scientists as Europe's worst on record.
And it was a momentous moment, a barrage of lightning flashes and storms for more than an hour. I watched tables sent flying from terraces of restaurants. I watched plates and food with it crashing to the floor, people running, shouting, taking cover and watching. And if you scroll your socials, you'll notice the Eiffel Tower was struck by lightning. This is how it was captured from various angles by those watching on.
Tonight, a state of emergency has been declared in Kentucky. Thunderstorms today swamped parts of the state. This video taken southeast of Louisville. At least one death has been reported. In Utah, scorching heat is fueling wildfires and another state of emergency. The Cottonwood Fire, now the nation's largest. It's one of several major wildfires burning across the West this weekend.
Across Utah, gusty winds fueling out-of-control wildfires. Officials pleading with the public to be careful.
We have at least 5 structures that are currently on fire.
Plumes of smoke fill the air as nearly a dozen fires now burn across the Beehive State.
I'm 100 yards away and I can feel the heat.
2 fires in Juab County overnight merging into one massive 30,000-acre cherry fire, prompting new evacuation orders. The 92,000-acre Cottonwood Fire, the nation's largest active blaze, has already scorched an area larger than Salt Lake City, with 0% containment. Officials say dozens of structures are likely lost.
A lot of good friends of mine have lost cabins, and it's heartbreaking. This is the 3rd summer we've been burnt out of house and home.
Lightning above the Parisian skyline, a sprinkling of rain, and at last some relief from the week's grueling heatwave.
I'm really delighted because the heatwave was horrible, so I'm really happy. We've been waiting for the change outside for an hour, so it's really cool.
Millions of people across France woke up to cooler conditions on Sunday and news that red alerts were to be lifted. But in hospitals, the pressure had not eased. Preliminary figures from France's National Health Agency recorded around 1,000 excess deaths since Wednesday.
So yeah, for sure, it's very, very specific moment, but you cannot miss it. So yeah, but it's like I say, only 5 times a year, so you have to be quite lucky.
Have you seen it happen, Marie?
Actually, when I was a kid, yes, I saw it because I was lucky enough to live actually by the Eiffel Tower. So I saw it from my window, and that was just a second, but I do remember it.
With hundreds of schools closed and trains cancelled, crowds are flocking to lakes and rivers to beat the heat. But that's caused a surge in drowning deaths, 42 across France and 6 in Germany in the last week. And in Europe, AC is not that common.
I haven't stopped sweating since the second I woke up this morning.
It is so humid. There is no AC. There's no unlimited ice water. Really, you're just living on fans.
Experts warn of a dangerous heat dome looming over continental Europe, trapping hot air and allowing temperatures to build. Spain, Italy and the UK all sweltering. Rome, one of 15 Italian cities under a red warning, the highest weather alert possible. And in London, the changing of the guard has been cancelled for the rest of the week.
It's a bit oppressive, I must say.
Several countries, they have already set new records. Germany reported a preliminary national record of 41.5 degrees Celsius on Saturday. Denmark has registered its hottest day to date. And new June or all-time records have also been set in parts of France, Switzerland, the Czech Republic, Poland and the UK. Temperatures are set to climb even higher over the next day or two, up to 42 degrees Celsius, certainly a possibility in eastern Germany. And this comes off the back of an overnight low of 29.4 Celsius in Saxony, eastern parts of Germany there on Sunday morning.
Tonight, deadly flash flooding in Kentucky, the governor declaring a state of emergency.
We've already had at least one motorist swept away and killed by flash flooding.
12 state roads out of commission today due to flooding, and Bullitt County facing a potential dam failure, forcing people to evacuate. In western Nebraska,
they're letting people go through this.
Streets inundated.
Chris, I'm coming behind you. State police, okay?
And new video this week from New Mexico State Police.
Help me. I can't. Okay. I can't.
Rescuing a visibly exhausted man from flash flooding in Albuquerque.
I got you. I got you.
Flames racing across a Utah mountainside. Embers carried by powerful winds toward homes below. Overnight, the Cottonwood fire exploded, tearing through the Eagle Point ski resort, forcing more communities to evacuate.
From my front yard, I can see this mountain here smoldering. It's a little bit concerning with the high winds coming in.
Utah's governor calls it the most destructive wildfire in state history for property loss.
Those trees there, they look the same as they've looked every other year, but they're not. They're dying inside. They're Roman candles just waiting to be lit.
The U.S. Forest Service says weather conditions are better today, but could worsen quickly as temperatures and wind speeds increase. And while wildfire activity in the West expands, the federal wildland workforce is shrinking. The U.S. Forest Service says it's fully staffed after cutting 6,000 employees over the last year. Washington State's Public Land Commissioner David Updegrove says those cuts have weakened the leadership structure behind them.
It's about whether or not we have stood up enough complex incident management teams. These aren't the firefighters in the yellow coats putting out the fires. These are the leaders and logistics support that's so critical to put out fires.
Updegrove says his state is ready, but warns of the dangers if multiple fires break out across the region. Utah's red flag warnings continue through midnight tonight, but officials warn that those fire dangers will persist as temperatures and winds continue to increase. Jerika?
All right, Adam Yamaguchi, thank you. Tonight, millions of Americans are on alert for severe and dangerous weather from the Rockies to the East Coast. As we showed you, Kentucky experienced it today. There's a lot more to come, from flash flooding to blockbuster heat.
Germany saw a new all-time high temperature for the second day in a row, recording 41.5 degrees Celsius on Saturday. The heat wave is now moving further east, and Western Europe is expected to see a mild drop in temperatures. Rebecca Conrad reports from Berlin.
Germany has broken its all-time high temperature, and people and governments here are struggling to cope. Very few people in Germany have any form of air conditioning at home. Even public institutions are without air conditioning. Even some hospitals don't have a way to cool down rooms for patients. Authorities here in Berlin have put out a map showing people places they can cool down. Some of them are park benches or waterways, and others are places like this. This is a popular art museum in the center of Berlin, and today it's open to the public, to people that want to come in just to get some respite from the heat. The impact of the heat here has been severe. Trains have been canceled from the national carrier Deutsche Bahn, and in some cities, even local tram services have been restricted, and authorities have asked people to conserve water. This is not something that is just affecting Germany. To the north, Denmark has experienced its highest record temperature, and so has the Czech Republic. Some estimates say as many as 190 million people could experience temperatures above 35 degrees Celsius in Europe today. That is a record that this continent never expected to break.
Okay, well, shout out to my main man, Willis. I don't know why they got him as a white dude. Let me put that on. That's very, because he invented the air conditioner.
Right.
You know,
you see how a lot of those countries that the Most High is bringing that heat to are like A lot of them was part of the 10 toes.
Con.
You know, you got your hand in there with America. Now you're gonna get burnt.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of those was the 10 toes, man. Most High is torching them crackers.
Con. Yeah, all praises. You know what I'm saying?
And how they don't got no air conditioning?
I know.
All that money they got and no AC.
Black man invented it. They're like, nope, we're not gonna do that.
Yeah, they that proud.
Con.
But you know, we ain't dying from that. You don't see black people dying like that from that. No Israelites dying from the heat like that.
No.
Not like that.
Yeah. Just Esau.
We could put up with that heat. It's hot, but we get through.
Con.
That's right.
Esau is falling apart.
Finish him.
McKinley Jones. Here we go. Let me see. Let me put that picture up. No. See how and then as soon as you click on it, this is what they say is the inventor of the air conditioners. Lies, man.
Yeah.
You know, right there. To the right. You click on it, the white boy shows up. Because of course, you know, we had to patent our stuff because they steal everything. You know what I'm saying? And
right.
You know, they would run to the patent office, they'll steal it and run to the patent office and then trying to get it, you know, patented, whatever. But they didn't. What we understand with slavery, they didn't have to do these things. They didn't have to come up with an air conditioner. They didn't have to come up with different you know, inventions and stuff like that because they were doing nothing. Like it made our life easier, you know, because you know we're naturally gifted, you know what I mean, in you know mathematics and science and everything like that, because we're the children of the Most High. You know, we can have a dream and come up with the answer like that. You know, Esau doesn't have that. All he has is his thievery and his guns. You know what I'm saying? So all praises, you know what I'm saying? Colorado got 36 inches of snow the other day. Goodness gracious. It's a heat wave in Colorado, 36 inches of snow. That's wild. That's wild. I know, I think North Dakota got something crazy like that too. My understanding. Hey, it's the end, baby. You know what I'm saying? Repent, keep the commandments, you know, and get into this spiritual fight. So
That's
for
right.
our last video, we're gonna talk about burdock root, right? Let's get Proverbs chapter 3 and verse 8. You know what I mean? Matter of fact, you start at Exodus chapter 12 and verse 8. Slaki. We'll go back to Proverbs. So let's start with Exodus. And this I had a dream about it. Actually, I had it before. It was in my medicine cabinet. I just never took it. But the dream was like, I don't know who it was, of course. It was just a message, really. Somebody making fun of me saying, like, you don't even take burdock root. And I'm like, well, I take turmeric and everything like that. But it was really like, you know, how come you don't take this? You know what I mean? It's kind of like shaming me into taking it. So I started taking it. I've been getting some good results, you know what I'm saying? As far as pain, you know what I mean? It's good for joints. So look into that. Of course, this is not we call medical advice. You know, it's something that I take and something you look into, talk to your doctor, you know. But somebody said this about talking to your doctor. How come you don't talk to your doctor when you binge drink, you know what I mean, at the bar? You know what I mean? You don't talk to the doctor, right. Start smoking cigarettes again, you know what I'm saying? Or roll up a blunt. Before you do that, make sure you talk to your doctor first. You know what I'm saying? But when it's coming to something healthy, they always tell you, make sure you talk to your doctor, you know. But I forget who said that, but it's just, it makes sense. But I want to say, make sure you talk to your doctor, okay? You don't want to, if you're taking medicines and stuff like that, you know, the interactions and everything, you want it to be, you know, helping you out rather than hurting you. Let's bring that out, King. Exodus 12 and 8.
You see, you was muting the mic, right?
Huh?
I think that's my AC making a noise.
Oh, Con.
No, we got AC.
Right.
All crazy. What you want? Exodus 12 and what?
12 and 8.
John, it's the book of Exodus, chapter 12, verse 8. And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it.
So burdock root is a bitter herb. Of course, we get the you know what I mean, a horseradish, get you all up in here, you know what I mean? But burdock is a bitter herb, right? Let's get Proverbs 3 and verse 8. And we're gonna watch this video of a brother that he pretty much changed his life around. You know, he said it started from the inside out, and he if he can get one herb, it'll be burdock root. So let's check him out.
You want Proverbs first? It's the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 8. It shall be health to thy navel and marrow to thy bones.
Okay, so let's get the burdock root video, and we'll end on that. If anybody has any questions, comments, or concerns, put it in the chat, and we'll get to it after the video.
That's right.
Most High willing.
If I could only keep one herb in my kitchen for the rest of my life, it would be burdock root. I talked about burdock root 5 years ago, but I hadn't come across it in its raw form at that time. That came later, and that changed how I use it. Why burdock root became one of my favorite herbs? Well, burdock was one of the first herbs I used consistently during a decade-long journey of rebuilding myself. Despite being a bitter root, when prepared properly, I find it deeply enjoyable. The way it makes me feel, hard to explain, but I would say stable, grounded. It has a foundational vibe to it. Fresh burdock is a completely different experience. It's less bitter than dried, has a subtle sweetness to it, crunchy texture, almost carrot-like. At times I eat it raw. I might chop it up, add it to salads, but I found myself juicing it quite often. Juicing with pear is one of my favorite combinations for burdock. Actually, today I'll show two juices, one using fresh burdock. For those who can't find wild crafted, the other recipe is going to be using the tea from the dried burdock. With that being said, I want to shout out to today's sponsor, Kuvings USA. For both, I'll be using the Kuvings Auto 10. Over 2 years since I've had it, now approaching 3, it's still been top notch. How I discovered burdock, I first learned about it through Dr. Sabi's lectures. I was searching for natural iron and internal cleansing support. At the time, I was coming out of years of weekend drinking. I was a big social drinker, and I needed to reset my bloodstream and organs. There are plenty of herbs that help release toxins from the body for that purpose, but burdock for me was a great starting point. A year or two later, I spotted fresh burdock root at the Easton Food Co-op. I juiced it alone, expecting it to be super bitter, but instead I got earthy and sweet. From that moment on, both fresh and dried stayed in rotation, at least as long as I could find it and it wasn't seasoned, especially during fasting and detox periods. I feel it's important to mention that there is wild crafted burdock and what most people will come across, farm raised burdock. I can almost guarantee you'll find this at any Asian market near you. Wildcrafted burdock grows deeper and slower. It could be twisted, grooved, uneven. No two roots look the same. Because it's seasonal, it's harder to find, but it carries more depth, more nutrition, way more benefits. Farm-raised burdock is widely available, as mentioned, especially at Asian markets. It has a uniform, smooth, polished appearance, milder in flavor. I've heard many people report real benefits from using farm-raised burdock, but personally, if I'm not able to spot wild-crafted burdock, I will avoid this and stick to the dried. I'd say choose wild burdock when you can. If it's not available, more than likely it doesn't grow in your area or it's just not in season. With that being said, when it comes to buying dried burdock root or any herb for that matter, you want to be aware of its origin. I'd say dried burdock root sourced from the US is more likely wild than mass farmed imports. So if I'm looking on an herbal site and I see that it's sourced from China, I avoid it. Avoid powders and go for the whole or cut and sifted root. You get your dried herb, give it a nice smell. Should have that earthy smell to it. If it's not a strong smell, that may indicate that the herbs are stale. So let's move on to our juice recipes. First, starting with the fresh burdock root. Before I even work with burdock, I have to clean it first. I like to soak mine in water, sea salt, and key lime juice for about 10 to 15 minutes. Give it a good scrub. If you don't feel like doing that, you can peel the outer skin with a potato peeler. So our juice with wild crafted burdock requires 6 inches of fresh wild burdock root, 4 Asian pears, which I couldn't find, so I'm using Bosque pears as an alternative, 2 key limes, and 1 thumb of ginger. This drink is grounding, cleansing, and will have you feeling focused. Cheers, family. So refreshing. For our tea-based burdock juice, we're going to steep 1 tablespoon of dried burdock root to 2 cups of spring water. You let it steep for 15 to 20 minutes, then you allow it to chill completely. And you're going to use the same juice combination. Of course, you're just subtracting the fresh burdock root we used last time. We're just going to pair it with the tea. Now we're going to combine 3/4 of the pear juice with 1/4 of the chilled burdock tea. The herbal bitterness balances the sweetness of the pear juice, ideal for those mindful of glucose response or any blood sugar spikes. This time with the herbal tea. Cheers, family. Pretty fire. Juicing fresh burdock with pears is a little more electrifying, while this is more chill, laid back vibes. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Until next time, peace, God.
Chill. Peace, God.
Come.
Sorry, I don't see any questions in the chat. So Most High willingness was edifying. You learned a few things, you know what I'm saying? It's a good time to go to the Heavenly Father. He said, go to him while he is near, while he is close. Obviously, he is making moves on this earth. The floods, the earthquakes, the fires, just everything, you know what I mean? Tornadoes, you know what I'm saying? So it's hurricane season coming up. It's about to really turn up. So, this is a good time to go to the Heavenly Father, and who knows, might be a large earthquake tomorrow if everybody, collectively ask the Most High to judge Esau, Edom, and these heathen nations. You know what I'm saying? 2/3 got to go too. I've been seeing that a lot, man. 2/3 is really, they ain't catching it. They ain't catching on. You know what I'm saying? It's a damn shame. You know what I mean? The song of the summer is about scamming and boosting, and they just loving it, and just
yeah. Talking about it the other day. That song. Scamming and boosting.
Yeah, that's the song of the summer, right?
Wicked.
Yeah. So of course, when bad things happen, you know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, what happened to such and such and such and such? They sitting there singing that song all day and all night, talking about sinning and how productive they are, boosting and stealing and all that. And bad things happen, and then look, boom, we're gonna have we're gonna march, man. Look, fear God and keep the commandments. You know what I'm saying?
God.
3 chariots. Yeah, you know what? It was the one all the way on the right. It might have been Saturn. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? That might have been Saturn. The one, you know, I moved. I'm on the ship, so I'm kind of like moving a little bit. That kind of stayed by itself. The one that was flashing, yeah, I think that was a chariot, right? And the one that came in out of nowhere and disappeared out of nowhere, I believe that was a chariot as well. But that could have been a chariot too. The one that, you know, that I thought was Saturn. It's possible, you know what I mean? But it definitely wasn't normal. You know what I mean? We in open water. None of that was normal. And God is listening. That's the main part. I wanted to bring that out. You know what I mean? The Lord is listening. So, you know, go to him with humbleness and respect and allow him to work. You know what I mean? Follow these law, statutes, commandments. He is going to take things to the next level. We got next the water. Reading King. All good.
Shalom. Shalom.
I say we got names. Never fold, never bend. We endure to the end. He made us a promise with a friend. He's the beginning and an end. He's chosen and his friends. No surrender or retreat. Speaking the word, my brothers on every corner of the street. My sisters keep us in love and peace. Cutting down idols, cast them away at my feet. Here's a shield for the weak, strength for me, a shepherd to a sheep. I said we got made. We got made. I'll get my flesh and blood. Get the laws behind them around my neck. Romans 9:1. We got up. Deuteronomy 6:7 days. Revelations 21:12. We got up. Romans 9:13. Revelations 21:12. We got it. Romans 9:13. Next up. Next up. Look in the mirror, see the history in the glass. Deep obsidian, the vision that was built to last. The Queen of Sheba had a son with skin like mine. Polished ebony, reflecting every holy sign. My DNA is happy with the weight of victory. Tracing back the lineage to the prophets and the kings. I don't just walk the earth, I claim the crown of trade with the wisdom of the ages. Keeping up my head. Every coil is a spiral stair. Reaching for the atmosphere, the spirit in my head. It grows toward the sun, it never wants to settle down. Defying every burden, yes, keeping up the ground. I'm the architect of